里面这个
我都不知道是谁的，到底是做的还是不人家的，我也不知道，跟我是没关系。做了我就没打头。
3 years after their divorce, Zhang Shu suddenly showed up with a 7-month belly, looking for her ex-husband, Yang Chuanxin, asking him to take responsibility. The ex-husband angrily refused to be the sucker. So, whose child is Zhang Shu carrying? Why is she pinning it on her ex-husband and demanding he take responsibility? Zhang Shu was 46 at the time. Fully aware that she was a high-risk pregnant woman, she still insisted on getting pregnant. With her due date approaching, she had no money at all, not even enough for hospitalization, so she decided to ask her ex-husband, Yang Chuanxin, for help. But the moment she entered the door, Zhang Shu claimed that the child belonged to Yang Chuanxin and demanded that he take responsibility. Yang Chuanxin immediately said that since their divorce, the two had never lived together, and he had seen Zhang Shu for the first time only after she was already 7 months pregnant, so the child definitely wasn't his. Hearing her ex-husband's words, Zhang Shu silently shed tears. Yang Chuanxin told reporters that when Zhang Shu first came to him, he saw her heavily pregnant and pitiful, and couldn't bear to let her wander outside, so he temporarily let her stay at his home. If the child wasn't the ex-husband's, then whose was it? When reporters asked her, Zhang Shu changed her explanation and claimed the pregnancy came from a test tube procedure done at a hospital. But in Yang Chuanxin's view, this was pure nonsense, because receiving IVF treatment at a hospital requires a marriage certificate, and Zhang Shu simply did not qualify for it. Yang Chuanxin believed that Zhang Shu should find the child's biological father and make him responsible. However, Zhang Shu refused to reveal the biological father's identity, insisting on bearing everything by herself, until she couldn't anymore, and then came looking for her ex-husband to clean up the mess.
现在已经到了这一步了，你别的事情像把到医院里去钱，这是个医保，能少一点就少一点钱。你做不了这个医保，现在你是婚分生子，你不可能还要求你前夫给你复婚，然后把这个孩子先户口上了吧？他也做不到这个事情吧？
这不可能，这不可能。
Faced with repeated questioning from reporters and her ex-husband, Zhang Shu still refused to reveal the biological father's identity. This left Yang Chuanxin very helpless. Out of kindness, he could temporarily take care of the mother and child, but that was not a long-term solution. Why was Zhang Shu unwilling to identify the biological father? And what made her insist on becoming pregnant at the age of 46 while unmarried? It turns out that Zhang Shu and Yang Chuanxin once raised a son together, but at the age of 15, he fell off a bridge in an accident and became severely disabled at level 4. Not only was he unable to care for himself, he also needed to wear a urine bag for life. After that, Yang Chuanxin wanted to devote himself fully to caring for their son, worried that having a second child would affect the boy's emotions, while Zhang Shu believed their eldest son had no hope of recovery and had emotionally abandoned him. She wanted to give birth to another healthy child, and eventually the couple divorced due to differing opinions. After the divorce, Zhang Shu remained fixated on having another child. She didn't care who the father was, she only cared about whether she could have a baby. Driven by this obsession, she chose to get pregnant outside marriage, unwilling to marry the child's father and unwilling to let him take responsibility. This left Yang Chuanxin confused and speechless. At this time, Zhang Shu experienced premature rupture of membranes and needed to be rushed to the hospital. In the hospital, Yang Chuanxin ran around helping her. In this critical moment, he not only paid Zhang Shu's delivery expenses, but also thoughtfully provided care. Although he had many grievances and questions toward his ex-wife, he still carefully prepared the childbirth kit. Zhang Shu signed the surgical consent form alone, and even at this urgent moment, the space for the father's signature remained blank. Zhang Shu still refused to reveal the biological father. As he watched her being pushed into the delivery room, Yang Chuanxin called Zhang Shu's father, but the father's response was cold, saying that the life or death of his daughter and grandchild had nothing to do with them. This answer enraged Yang Chuanxin. He had kindly been taking care of the mother and child, but in Zhang Shu's family's eyes, it became something he was supposed to do. Unwillingly, Yang Chuanxin waited outside the delivery room. He feared that Zhang Shu would continue staying at his home afterward and never leave. His eldest son was already emotionally distressed because of Zhang Shu's pregnancy, and he did not want his child to be hurt again. Just as he was worrying, good news came from the delivery room. Zhang Shu safely gave birth to a baby boy. When Yong Chuanxin received the baby from the nurse, he felt a mix of emotions. 12 days after giving birth, Zhang Shu originally planned to raise the child by herself, but she seemed to have overestimated her financial ability. Under pressure, she finally told reporters the identity of the child's biological father. The father was a designated driver worker named Tan Jihua. When Tan Jihua learned she was pregnant, he cut off all contact with her.
那你怀孕之后跟那个男的没有在一起吗？我就那个时候我不知道怀的孕，我知道怀孕呢，我就考虑了一下，我就觉得不行，我觉得这个男的因为我不了解了，我觉得呢，我还是不想跟他来往了。我就从他老是孩子老到院里去找我一直都不知道怀的孕呢，我就跟他说嘞，他就赌。
Now Zhang Shu tried to contact Tan Jihua through her work supervisor, but the supervisor told her that he had already gone to Dongguan, and before leaving, Tan Jihua had said that the child was definitely not his. Could it be that Zhang Shu had also become entangled with another man?
他跟我讲，
这真的。
他讲他的孩子天天是什么？还有不要生啊不。
孩子的父亲到底是谁？是哪一个？说的是那个待嫁的。那个孩子都好像啊，那个样子都很像那个待嫁的吗？是的，很像。
Based on the child's appearance, Zhang Shu was convinced that the baby belonged to Tan Jihua. However, in order to have a healthy baby, she casually found a man to get pregnant. Now that she lacked the ability to raise the child, she intended to find the biological father to take responsibility. Little did she know, this behavior was irresponsible not only toward herself but also toward the child. And from beginning to end, Zhang Shu never showed any guilt or gratitude toward her ex-husband. She believed her ex-husband was unreliable, so she placed all her hopes on the child instead. Now that the biological father couldn't be found and she couldn't handle the financial pressure, she even wanted to send the child away.
那你生了崽，你这18年你怎么抚养他啊？天哪！你本来就已经生活已经很累了，你还要带一个崽，你还要赚钱，你怎么抚养他？你没考虑过这些问题？那有什么办呢？要生掉，他爸不认了，是生掉。你看看你说这些话有多不负责任！要生的也是你，要送的还是你。生完又觉得哎呀是个累赘，又不要了。你当时又是这个执念，他又是你的执念，觉得哎这个孩子来了你开心。
It can only be said that Zhang Shu was selfish. She wanted to raise a new child to ease her guilt toward her elder son, but little did she know she pushed her own life into complete chaos. When he learned that Zhang Shu's search had failed, Yong Chuanxin felt helpless. Out of kindness, he could only temporarily take her in. But with his meager monthly income, besides taking care of his disabled elder son, he also had to support his ex-wife Zhang Shu and her baby, and he had no idea how to manage the future. As for whether Tan Jihua, the man Zhang Shu mentioned, was truly the biological father, 3 months later, Tan Jihua reappeared. After learning the news, Zhang Shu immediately brought the baby for a paternity test. The moment she saw Tan Jihua's appearance, the exhausted Zhang Shu's eyes lit up instantly. In contrast, Tan Jihua was extremely cold toward the mother and child. Throughout the entire DNA sampling process, Tan Jihua remained silent and did not look at the child even once. After the sampling was completed, he hurried away. Seeing this, Zhang Shu quickly chased after him.
你确定这孩子上面吗？你有多少？你有多少的那个？长得可以长下巴脸。
长得像有没有灵呢？我
现在都没
总共跟他只有一次，然后第二天他就把我微信电话全部拿开了，实在没有处。
就只有一次吗？
对，就一次。
那也有点悬嘞，不一定。
这个我是知道。
Tan Jihua believed that the two had only a brief encounter and had only met once. Now Zhang Shu insisted he was the father of the child, which left him feeling extremely helpless. Could it be that there was another man? At this moment, Tan Jihua revealed to reporters that besides himself, Zhang Shu had also maintained an unusual relationship with another man named Lin, so he was confident that the child was not his. However, Zhang Shu continued to claim everywhere that the child belonged to him, which caused great disruption in his life. His wife had even said she wanted a divorce after hearing the rumors. At this moment, he deeply regretted everything. The main reason he agreed to the paternity test was to prove his innocence and completely cut ties with Zhang Shu. After saying this, Tan Jihua turned and left. The reporters then escorted Zhang Shu and the baby back home. But unexpectedly, the person who came to pick them up turned out to be her ex-husband, Yong Chuanxin.
半个家去了。
那怎么呢？他上个星期二收到法院的撤诉，然后说天气热，还受不了。我看到这一段时间孩子热又受不了，然后他又在处理这个事。确实孩子可怜。
又让他住在
又让他住在那里。
住了几天？现在
住了1个多星期。
Yang Chuanxin was also helpless toward this ex-wife. Originally, when Zhang Shu gave birth at the hospital, he had already been running around everywhere for her, and later he put in a lot of effort taking care of her during postpartum recovery. Although after finishing her postpartum month at his home, Zhang Shu gave him 5,000 yuan to rent a place as a temporary arrangement, she still never found the child's biological father. Now she again used the excuse of the weather being too hot to live with him. For the past few months, all the expenses for Zhang Shu and the baby had been paid by him, and even the child's official family record was listed under his name. Yang Chuanxin said that he could only blame himself for being too soft-hearted and unable to bear seeing Zhang Shu and the baby suffering outside.
说了，我说你要弄清楚，我帮助你是暂时的，不可能是永久的。从法律上，从责任上，这个跟我都没有关系。你不要把我这个当救命稻草，当避风港，这也是不可能的事情。
Zhang Shu clearly understood how difficult things were for her ex-husband. She also did not want to continue being a burden to him. As for Tan Jihua, whom she had found, was she trying to find a substitute, or was she confident that he was truly the biological father? 1 week later, the paternity test results finally came out. Zhang Shu and Tan Jihua met in the studio to confirm the results together. Finally, under the host's announcement, it was confirmed that Tan Jihua was indeed the biological father of the child.
在排除同卵多胞胎、近亲及外源干扰的前提下，依据现有资料和 DNA 分析结果，支持小朋友和男方构成生物学父亲关系。这个小朋友是你的，心里就没有一点欣喜吗？
算了，我理睬，好吧。
After learning the results, Tan Jihua walked out of the studio and collapsed weakly on the staircase, looking utterly devastated. He had originally held onto a tiny bit of hope that the child might not be his, but he did not expect things to turn out this way. He was already 48 years old and had been married to Lu Hong for 23 years, raising one son together. When gossip first reached his wife, she had already been deeply disappointed by him. But his wife had also hoped the child wasn't his, so the two had never proceeded with a divorce. He could never have imagined the final results would be like this.
说实在的，你结果问我，刚好这还是我的东西，高兴不高兴？是我的东西，高兴得起来。现在心里只剩下费用往那种这些事情。我怎么能高兴得起来？这个孩子，这个我儿子，这是一个灾难。
灾难。对。你用灾难来形容这个孩子。
对。
Compared to the devastated and helpless Tan Jihua, Zhang Shu appeared extremely happy. She believed that she had finally found someone who could help pay the child's expenses, and her desire to have a child had now been fulfilled. As for whether the child could grow up in a complete family, she felt that it didn't matter at all. She believed everything would be fine as long as she compensated the child in the future. But she never realized that giving birth to a child without proper preparation or financial stability, and letting the child grow up in an incomplete family, was an inherently selfish action. She never considered the public scrutiny and pressure the child would have to face when growing up in society. The next day, although she and Tan Jihua had originally agreed to discuss the child's matters together, he suddenly disappeared again. Zhang Shu helplessly called his older brother, Tan Wenhua. According to Tan Wenhua, Tan Jihua had gone to process divorce procedures with his wife, and he couldn't be contacted. The reporters then contacted Tan Jihua's wife, Lu Hong, again. As for his disappearance, Lu Hong said she was long accustomed to it. She said that when she learned her husband had fathered a child outside, she had already decided to divorce him. For the past 23 years, Tan Jihua had constantly flirted with other women, and she endured everything for the sake of their son. Now that his behavior was becoming more and more outrageous, she could no longer tolerate it. At this point, divorce had become a relief. At this moment, because the baby suddenly showed health problems, Zhang Shu rushed him to the hospital. After diagnosis, the doctor said the child had developmental delay and needed treatment. Originally, the living expenses of the mother and child had not been resolved, and now treatment fees added even more burden. An anxious Zhang Shu could only pin her hopes on Tan Jihua. Unexpectedly, After answering her call, Tan Ji-hwa actually showed up. Seeing the biological father appear, Yong Chuan-shin deliberately stayed in a corner to avoid suspicion. And for the first time in so long, Tan Ji-hwa held the baby as a father. Standing in front of this innocent child, what decision would Tan Ji-hwa make? Later, both parties negotiated under the witness of a lawyer. Regarding custody, Tan Ji-hwa immediately gave it to Zhang Shu. But when it came to child support, the two sides could not agree. Tan Ji-hwa said that he worked as a designated driver and earned around 5,000 yuan per month. He agreed to pay 1,000 yuan per month for child support. After hearing this, Zhang Shu's expression changed drastically, and she said she wanted to give up custody because she needed to pay rent, living expenses, and also raise the child. 1,000 yuan was simply a drop in the bucket. However, the lawyer said that if neither party wanted the child, the mother was still legally obligated to take care of a child under 2 years old. Hearing this, Zhang Shu became extremely emotional.
大姐，你怎么会把这个话这样子说了？你说不要这个孩子，这个孩子是你坚决，不给他来，你坚决要杀死了。不给他来，为什么要不拿出来？我不是。你这个情况，你为什么当时的时候你没考虑嘞？为啥不让我干了？为什么让老公问？为什么不让该拿出来？你执意为之，现在事情已成定局，你没有必要再去跟我们诉苦了，谁都没有办法回到当初了。孩子既然出生了，你就应该负责，就这么简单。你是作为妈妈的，你就应该负责；他作为爸爸的就应该负责，你们俩都应该负责。
Zhang Shu complained to the program team, saying she currently had no savings, no job and no income, and she simply could not raise the child. She even threatened to give up custody. But if she knew this would happen, why did she insist on giving birth in the first place?
你跟我们诉这些苦没用，这个东西都是你们自己的决定，你们都是成年人了，你们应该为你们的决定负责任。现在是，我当拿出来这个东西没。反家的，那你为什么撑呢？我何必不让来反家的？你没考虑过你现在养活他吗？我把姐姐，你一定要事情到了这个眼前，你觉得养活他就不要了。我把姐姐，就当我们什么事经常借钱，那你为什么什么时候考虑钱怎么来呢？怎么养孩子呢？哪怕你富裕点，能再多给一点点吗？我觉得
我给不了啊，
因为毕竟大孩子。
我一个月房租费是1000块钱的跑掉的吧？是吧？吃饭怎么样也要2000块钱吧？
你能给到就1800左右，1600、1800左右。
给不了，我给了他，我自己没办法活。
In the end, the two sides never reached an agreement on child support. Zhang Shu decided to file a lawsuit and let the court decide. Tan Ji-hwa believed that Zhang Shu and the child were disasters brought upon him and that he had been completely used. But in fact, if he had maintained his moral boundaries from the beginning, how could he claim he was being used? At this point, blaming each other was already meaningless. Taking responsibility as parents and raising the child was what they should truly do.
To put it simply, the most frustrating part of this incident is that neither of the two adults placed responsibility in their hearts. Zhang Shu clearly knew she had no financial ability. Yet she insisted on having a child, and only when she had nowhere else to turn did she think of her ex-husband and the biological father. Her irresponsible impulse truly hurts others. As for Tan Ji-hwa, he also was not prepared to take responsibility. When something happened, he chose to avoid it. When he needed to face it, he wanted to distance himself. In contrast, the ex-husband, Yong Chuan-shin, although he had emotions and difficulties, at least stepped forward at critical moments. He was not a perfect person, but he was the kindest and the one most willing to shoulder a bit of responsibility in this entire situation. Unfortunately, the arrival of a child, which should have been a blessing, was dragged into turmoil by the adult's chaos and avoidance. The most innocent one will always be the child. In this incident, who do you think should pay the price for all of this?